or miss sometimes when it turns off. But some people do like it, and in case of the event that it does turn off, we would go to our setting and preferences, and turn our view cube back on using this little checkbox. A few other things that I want to associate ourselves with that we will be commonly using inside projects is these two icons over here. This is our auto key frame toggle and our animation preferences. Animation preferences can be accessed via this icon here, or also in our setting and preferences tab right here. One of the things that I want to make sure that we have turned on anytime we're starting any project is weighted tangents. Weighted tangents is not always a feature that is turned on by default, but we want to make sure that this is on before we start any of our projects. The reason being is because, fortunately, if we started doing any animation and we went into the graph editor and realized that our weighted tangent wasn't turned on, there is no way to implement weighted tangents after the animation has been set. This is something that has to be done at the beginning. So we want that option when we get to our animation sets, because when we're using it inside the graph editor, it can help us get our timing better and our movements cleaner with it. So without it, that option would not appear, especially after we did our project. A few other things that I want to mention as far as the customizability of our interface is the camera options. Now, inside our toolbar to the left, we have a few defaults. Single perspective, which is what we're using right now. For window, for box perspective, which includes perspective and, of course, the three different orthographic views. But each one of these windows, as you can see, has its own little menu set. Each one of these can be modified. For example, by opening up in the Panels tab, we can actually start selecting different camera angles. See, notice in perspective, there's perspective. Now, if I was to create a new camera for the scene, if I went to Panels, Perspective, now we see that there's an option for Camera 1 also. So this would be the perspective of the camera. Another thing that we could use is, here's our different orthographic views. We can change these box to just portray that one. We have a look through, which in this case, since I have my camera selected, if I selected look through, I can now see through the camera. It would be similar to just using this option also. The difference is look through will also work for lighting, specifically spotlights. So then we can actually see from the light's perspective and put that light and point it in the direction that we would want it for our scene. A few other options that we can do inside this mode is we can also open up other things that we've been accustomed to inside this. So I can open up an outliner, its own separate window. I can open up UV texture editor. I can open up a multitude of different options. As you can see, everything that we have here: dope sheets, graph editors, outlines, hypershade. Now, unfortunately, since I do have a small screen, you can see that this becomes rather cramped pretty quickly. But of course, if I had a larger screen, being able to customize our windows can be rather useful tool for the work that we do. There's also a two-screen mode, which by default it pops up the outliner, but as you can see, I can stretch and skew my windows out, so I can make it a little bit more of a 50-50 split. And once again, then customize it to whatever option I would need, which can become useful for, per se, let's say I was doing texturing, and I just wanted to keep a window split so I could see my hypershade and my object that I'm using. Well, I can just open up a two-split window and open up hypershade. And there's the hypershade. Like I said, unfortunately it's rather cramped on my computer, but it can be more useful in other ways. There's also two-way split here. This is also can be found in the toolbar default toolbar menu set, which once again we can customize it and put whatever type of window we need. Once again, here's the hypershade, so we can have that. And once again, we can also skew the view of that window split just by selecting on the separation line. We can also go back and forth using the spacebar. Spacebar acts similar to like a common TV remote control's option of last channel or jump. So it goes back and forth between the last window you had selected and the other window. Except for in the 4-window mode. 4-window mode allows that we'll switch to whichever window we have the mouse currently hovering over. So if I have it over perspective, it'll go for perspective. If I have it over top, it'll go to top, front, and side, thusly. Last thing I want to go over is our rendering options menu. This can be found in the upper right hand corner. Look for the movie clappers with 2 circles next to it. When opening up this menu, this gives us our set on how we can set up our scene. The type of render we're using, the type of image sizes that we're going to be using, and so on and so forth. By default, Maya always has at least 2 options, Maya hardware and Maya software. Maya Vector can be enabled, and Mental Ray, which we will use quite frequently, is a Maya plugin. This is not usually under the default when opening up Maya, though it's a very common renderer that we use. In order to open up, make sure that Mental Ray is enabled, we need to go to Windows, Setting and Preferences, Plugin Manager. As you can see, Maya has a bunch of different plugins that we could use in order to help our work. I suggest not turning all of them on because it would end up using a lot of resources that we could be using for other projects. Also, just becomes it's not necessary. So we'll turn these on as a need to use basis. That being said, the Mental Ray, which unfortunately is not intuitively named Mental Ray, but it's named MAYATOMR. We need to, if this is not selected, we need to check on Loaded and Auto Load. I would like to note that the current or newer versions of Maya from at least 09 and Maya 10, when you, let's assume that this was not set on default. If we tried turning this on, like so, it usually enables it. Some other older versions of Maya, what you need to do is after you click on to Mental Ray and have it enabled for the plugin, you need to restart Maya in order for it to become active. It's not usable. Well, as this usually is not the case with the newer versions of Maya, if for some reason Mental Ray is not being enabled after you have clicked in the plugin manager, you might need to restart Maya in order for it to become active. Lastly, let's go into our render settings, and I'll just explain a few different options. I'm going to select the Mental Ray tab. And as you can see, it gives us a multitude of different ways how it's going to render. File name and prefix. This will be a name that we give it that denotes the name of the frame. So let's say I could say robot project. So when it starts spitting out the frames when we render it, it'll be robot project, and then some other designations that we'll have for the file name. By default, Maya always puts it to IFF. It's a file image format that only Maya uses, but we have the ability to change it to different formats.